Hey guys, it's Wanda and welcome to Crazy Days. Today we're going to be another conversation of friends. So many people ask me all the time about herbs and what herbs you should have on your homestead and what they're good for and all this stuff. So what better than to talk to an herbalist? Today we have Cindi with us, and I'm going to let Cindi tell you a little bit. I'm not even going to try to pronounce her name. She's going to have to do it for you. So Cindi, tell them a little bit about yourself, your given name, I guess I should say, and where you were born, a little bit about your background, your parents, the state you were in, and all that, your heritage.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cindi Quay, and I know this is a hard name to remember. So I am Native American from Menominee Nation, which is in Upper Wisconsin. That's my tribe. And so my given name, which was my second given name, is Washke Benishi Quay, which means bluebird woman. And there is meaning behind it when you have a name, and that is not what you think. So, some would say, well, bluebird is joyful and chirping and special or rare, or depending on where you're at. But actually, the medicine man told me that the bluebird is one rare, one of great happiness, but also can bring great sadness. And that in my life, in my adult life, I needed to find the middle ground so that I always was centered. And I have honored that name. I have another one too, but it's a spirit name that I can't speak to nobody. And that's a really special thing that Native Americans, that we are gifted, and that is for us to speak with spirits, our ancestors, or when we pass, those names are there so we recognize our ancestors. And it's very spiritual. It's just a lovely piece that I have. I grew up in a small town in Upper Wisconsin. And both my grandparents, and I grew up in the 60s, so that kind of gives you an idea how old I am, in the early 60s. Both were foragers, and my dad's parents came from Czechoslovakia, so I am half Bohemian. And they were into mushrooms and collecting berries. And my grandmother, they had gardens, but on my dad's side, they weren't really too much into medicines. It was more about food for medicine. So that was a different concept. And on my mom's side, my grandfather was born and lived in the traditional side of our reservation in Kashina, Wisconsin. And we have a long history of medicine people, and my clan is the Wolf. And Wolf is the teacher. And so as a young child, oh wait, I forgot one that's really important. My grandmother on my mother's side is Swedish and came from Sweden, and the family farm is still there. I have met like my 5th cousins that came here, and we went on vacation together. It was amazing to see culturally how my both set of parents and grandparents brought to the table to teach me as a child things that were organic, how you fed your family. My dad was a farmer. We had this conversation yesterday that farmers produce for the people. And today we see a lot of homesteads are feeding themselves and, going out and selling at markets and the extra, but it's really about farming in a really unique and important way. And on my dad's farm, which he ran because he was the oldest, they only sold their milk. So the meats and the vegetables were to feed the family. So that's kind of the history. I'm a mix of some wonderful, rich history of being Bohemian and Native American and Swedish. That really gave me a well-rounded sense of community, family, God was important in my upbringing. All those teachings were made centered for who I am. But the biggest piece that happened to me was I was just a loner because I liked being in nature, and I liked to look at plants and flowers and roots and bulbs and taste them. What did they taste like? Of course, not knowing some were poisonous. I'd watch the deer pull up my neighbor's heirloom. And you think about it in the 60s, what kind of heirloom tulips were there? Not many. And
Yeah.
those were prized to her, and I would eat them. Oh, and they would call my mom. They would be so mad. She's at it again. And I would take my clothes off and be naked. Like it was, at 5 and 6 years old, like that's how I was supposed to be with nature, to be I still laugh at that today. That's just a little piece of me that is kind of humorous.
I was going to ask you, when you mentioned bluebird, one of the reasons you and I
Yes.
kind of connected was the bluebird you saw on one of our videos, Bluebird Farm.
I did. It was amazing. I was like, yep. And I had an idea that Danny had some native in him by watching him speak. And I felt like there was some kind of connection that we needed to unravel together. And it was, you were my first outreach person to do a collaboration with, to say, hey, let's do this, without even knowing you. It was a calling.
So you and Danny are going to be doing a podcast, and we're going to be putting it up too. So you will be doing that with him this week also.
Yeah, I'm excited for both of these. I'm just really thrilled that I get to share my story and talk about medicines. So that's what my passion, all wrapped up in a nutshell. I worked many other jobs. I raised 5 children by myself. And, but my passion was always making medicines, and I always made them. When I moved, so I left Wisconsin in 1994, and I came to North Carolina, which became like a really, I'm now half Southern and half Northern, but to harvest plants, I can do it all the time, whenever I need. And I still could do that in Wisconsin, but not as much. You have to have really fine-tuned skills to know where plants are under snow. The ones like you need, like bloodroot, or things that are really important medicines for doctoring, is the word I want to use.
Let me mention right quick before we go further that you and I are not doctors. You are an herbalist, and the things we talk about, we are not doctoring people. They don't need to take this as a medical advice. We're just offering herbal advice.
Exactly.
And that way that kind of clears us up on that scale. But we are offering herbal advice, not medical advice. So when you were young, who was your mentor, or who kind of helped you into the herbal, learning all this? Because you didn't just have that knowledge. Like you said, you started out young trying to figure out plants on your own, but who was your mentor and who helped you with that, and your credentials, the schooling and education and things like that you have?
So this is going to be interesting to share this. I think that I was born to be this. And this is what my uncle has said to me, that I'm the last wolf teacher. And in the Native American traditions, it is passed down through generational DNA. It's really hard to explain in depth on this channel at this time, but I think that I was born with knowledge. So when I started working with the plants, everything seemed right, like I understood. And as I matured and spent more time So this is like really self-teaching. I had teachings from my grandparents and from aunties and other grandmas. But as a child, some of those I don't remember at all.
Mhm.
And I would, so at 11 years old, my grandfather passed away, and my family didn't really understand the connection that my grandfather still had on the reservation with his people. And so I wasn't brought there. And I was reunited as what were called a lost bird. And some of your readers are going to know what that means. And at 24, and I got to meet all my family. And my uncle put on this big cookout to greet and meet lost relatives. And from there, I just went right into teaching. And so I had cousins that we would harvest together on my visits home. I also met a medicine man from my tribe we weren't related. And we started going and doing ceremonies and harvesting together. And he taught me the female plants that I would harvest for women help. And I taught him the male that I knew, which were male trees or plants that would be used for men. And so he would send women my way and I would send men his way, because traditionally that's how we did it. Women worked with other women and men worked with other men. We didn't cross over unless there was no one else to work the traditional, and we do call it medicine, traditional medicine, with others. So I did take a couple courses that were really off board, like where you wouldn't get credentials. So my credential is a Native American traditional herbalist. There is no school for that.
Oh,
It
no.
is life taught.
You had quite an influence when you met your uncle and started back with the tribe. But tonight we want to share a little bit of things with people, because on a homestead, they need certain herbs and they need to know which ones. They don't need to just buy all kinds of herbs. I mean, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of herbs out there, and it's hard for some people to narrow it down. So tonight we're going to narrow down just a few, and we're going to talk about each one that we think is important for you to have on your homestead. This is by no means all of them, but it's a way to get started. And then we want to maybe ask our viewers if there's other herbs that they would like for you and I to talk about. We might schedule another second meeting later, and they can put it in the comments and say, hey, I would like for Cindi to talk about this or that. And so you and Danny are doing the podcast, and y'all are going to be talking some of the native things that are around us. I do believe you and him will be talking more some of the wild side of it. I believe is what y'all are probably going to hit more, and things like that that are on our homestead. But here we're going to start off with lavender. I think is that, and the kind of things that you know that lavender's good for. What you a description of lavender, because I love lavender. I grew it in my high tunnel this year. I grew it last year in my high tunnel. I have lavender in essential oils. I have lavender in dried flowers. I love making teas with it. Lavender's just, I like soaps with lavender in it. Lavender's just an all-around favorite of mine.
So I think that what we're going to be talking about is like what we consider culinary herbs, or like pollinators that we put into our gardens that we can use as herbal remedies. And so lavender is probably one of my most favorites, because the official name lavandula means grandmother. And so it's this nurturing, can be very nurturing to those in need of the calming. It brings some real calm aromatherapy benefits the little flower, and even the leaves, whether you make a tea with it, which is real simple, and you don't need much. It's very potent. So it's a good, lavender is good to blend with other ones like chamomile, lemon balm, Annie's hyssop. So it makes a lovely blender into a tea of other pollinating plants that we grow in our garden for the butterflies and the hummingbirds and bees. We need the bees, right? So lavender, it has a nice natural anti-inflammatory response. Now, I want to say something on the behalf of lavender. Some people have an opposite reaction. Instead of being calm, they feel more anxiety or more stress. And that's those people, lavender may not be for them. And it could be the type of lavender as well, too. So if you're picking lavender to grow in your garden, you're going to want to get maybe not Spanish, go more French, or find the traditional lavender. Because those are the ones, the Bulgarian or the one that have the grosso. So that includes essential oils as well, too. So lavender brings this natural anti-inflammatory. You could soak it. I mean, there are things you can do with it besides putting in salads, besides making a nice fragrant tea. You can put in ice cubes and put it into a pitcher or into your water for this calming sensation. And it's beautiful to look at. And you can do other flowers in it as well, too. You can also make a poultice. A poultice is something where, like, you would make a tea. So you would take the lavender flowers and put it in a little saucepan, maybe like a cup or two. And you could do like 3 or 4 of the flower stalks, or I always talk like pinch or little handful, and have it in hot water. Make sure the water's hot. And then once you take it off the heat, which you only, with flowers, you only want to gentle flowers like that, 5 to 7 minutes of the steep time to begin with. Anything past that, you're already removing the properties of that, of any of the more gentle flowers like lavender. And you can take a washcloth and dip it in there. And if you've got swelling or bug bites or inflammation on your body, you can lay that on there. So lavender, just from talking about it being a pollinator, it's also used as calming, refreshing sensation for your body as a food, like in your salads or as a tea. And then also as an herbal remedy for, you can put it over your eyes are swollen and you just want to go to sleep. Just the smell. You can do that with the essential oil as well, too. So that's just a small little piece. Lavender is important. It's always in my garden.
Then we want to go to rosemary. Now, I have rosemary here. Danny had rosemary trees or bushes when I got here. They were huge and they were all over the place. He probably had 6 or 8 of them in different places. And everybody that comes now, we have lost some of them throughout the years because they were so big. They were older, like 8 and 10-year-old plants. And we have 2 or 3 of them in my herb garden, and people go, I've never seen the rosemary gets really big and really tall. And so, and I love putting it in, like you said, culinary. I love it in chicken, turkey, just roasting stuff. I love cooking with rosemary. But rosemary is like one of the best herbs to have around for a lot of other medicinal purposes also.
Absolutely. First of all, rosemary is short-lived. Even 8-10 years, they start dying, and what you do is you get the babies and put them somewhere else. Rosemary likes to grow, especially against brick houses. If you have a brick, that Mediterranean type environment, they love it, but they don't last. So every year I'm always planting new rosemary. in different places, or in even a pot. You can plant rosemary in a pot if you don't have room, or a small area of garden. So the history of rosemary is really fascinating. It goes way back into, we're talking Egyptian times, we're talking way back. And so it was used and put outside of the front of homes as a form of protection. And also because people didn't bathe a lot, and they could rub the rosemary before they entered the house to hide how they smelled. But what they didn't know back then, which was pretty big, is that it opened their mind and it helped with clarity. So if they went in and were having counsel or conversation, they were more in tune and aware of that conversation. That means also more intellectual, because you're not like, okay, you're listening, you're part of a conversation. So rosemary, I mean, this is like something that I cannot imagine someone not having it even in a pot. Because if you're having a bad day, or you've come off of COVID and you got foggy head, and that's part of it, or anything else, you can just simply rub those leaves and open your mind and get that smell back. The smell, it's so wonderful. And the best part about rosemary is it boosts the immune system. So imagine that you were, how many centuries ago weren't bathing, you carried diseases with you. So that rosemary was also used as a body wash. And today you can find it in tons of shampoo. So there are so many things you can do with rosemary, but my first thing about rosemary is a lot of people can't drink it because it's so pungent. Yeah. Smelling it really is probably the easiest way to deal with rosemary. You could also save the twigs and throw them into a fire or a steam to open up, like if you have a sinus infection. You can drink it, but you're probably not going to like the flavor of it. Try it, because you might, and you could prove me wrong, and that would be great. So it's really good for circulatory problems. So like if you have edema, like in your ankles, you have swelling, you could do the same, like I mentioned, a poultice, how to make a poultice. And you would add, break off 2 branches, take off those small little leaves, put them in some hot water, let it steep 5-7 minutes, and then take a washcloth and put it in there and apply it to where you have some swelling going on in your body. So rosemary is just a wonderful, lovely addition to have growing, not only for food. There's so much you can do with food. And the other thing you can do with rosemary is to soak it in apple cider vinegar. Let's say you have like oily hair, or you have dandruff, or you just want to clean your scalp really good. And so you can put those fresh leaves right into apple cider vinegar and let them sit for a couple weeks. Strain them out and use that as a hair rinse. Brings shine. It revitalizes the scalp. So rosemary all the way across the board is between culinary. It's really good to have for your food, obviously for flavor, but rosemary is just dynamite. You can access it. You can actually, if you wanted to, put it in witch hazel and use it as a bug spray.
These herbs, most of them can be grown in pots or containers. They could be grown in raised beds, all kinds of things like that. And I have rosemary, the essential oils. I keep one of those on hand. I believe in diversifying. I have the fresh rosemary. I usually take some of it and I will dry some of it and use it. Then I have my essential oils. So I have a variety of ways that I have rosemary on my homestead and have it year long, all the time. And I'm like you, when one tree or one bush looks like it's going to kind of go away, we root another one and keep going. That's why Danny had so many around here. So one of the next one we're going to talk about, I know is going to be, you probably got some good information on this one, which is sage. Sage is something, I've grown regular sage here at times, but I don't have sage right now. I have, see, what is it called? Pineapple sage here right now. That's what I have growing. And I love the smell of it because you got a little bit of sage, but you have that pineapple overlay on it. And you can put it in salads, or my thing is, when we start meat this fall, I'm going to take some of it and we're going to grind it up into the sausage and give it a touch of pineapple, because pineapple sausage is amazing. So why not use pineapple sage? Because we're going to be using sage anyway in sausage.
Right.
But I know you have a lot of good information on sage too.
And this can go across the board. There are a lot of people who live where wild sage grows, and they would know if they were being shown how to identify it. So whether you have the garden, like culinary sage, like common sage, you can also grow white sage. There are other sages you can grow but they're a little more difficult because they want to be in their own wild environment. So the common sage plant is what most people use. So sage has a long history. And I know most of you, if you are saving your beans and drying them out, if you put a sage pod in it, or a bay leaf, so they're both interchangeable the same way. So I just wanted to mention the bay leaf or sage. It helps keep the weevils out of your beans. So sage is really good for preserving the integrity of your food. And that's why it's used in sausage. But sage is a spiritual plant for me, besides culinary. And I actually will take sage with the rosemary and lavender and make a smudge stick. Just take them when they're dried, not fresh, because they'll mold, because you're compacting them like in a little stick. And if someone's been ill in my home, or I go somewhere and I'm making tea for someone who has been sick, I always bring it along and I use it because it cleanses the air. It literally, of viral infections and bacterial infections, will clean the air out. And so that is a big central piece of why people use it spiritually, to sage themselves or their homes. So on the native perspective, that's a really huge piece for us, is sage. It is also, sage is so wonderful when you have a sore throat. Whether you're coming down, with a common sore throat, or your lymph nodes are swollen through here, by making a sage tea and gargling as far back as you can go, it's going to go. And this is like scientific research, guys. This is not me. I mean, this is in books. You can read about it, but it will kill the bacteria, the infection that's back in your throat. Now, if you've gone too far, you might need antibiotics and other, but so don't just depend on that, but you can use it if that's what's in your home. If you start feeling a sore throat, you can back it up with some zinc. That's amazing for a sore throat. So sage, you would actually gargle with it. You wouldn't swallow it. You would gargle to help a sore throat. And there's other things you can use. There's so many that I can't wait to explore. Honeysuckle is a great one as well too, as a honey. But so we're on the sore throat. I could talk about so many different things that grow around to work with it. But I also know sage to be a mood booster. And something else that I like about sage is, remember when I told you can put your sticks of rosemary, you can do the same with lavender. You can do the same with sage into your fire. Like, let's say your family's sitting outside and it's nighttime and the bugs are out. You just put those sticks in there. First of all, it's kindling. And second is the bugs don't like the smell of it. So you're helping your environment of enjoying with your family, of not having mosquitoes all around you. So we know about cooking with sage, and it becomes traditional at Thanksgiving, if you think about that. For the native people, we taught how to have a Thanksgiving, the Europeans, and sage was there. It was present at that first Thanksgiving that we gave to the pilgrims. It was part of the teaching lessons of a native, and ours was wild sage. So your common sage is European. So it's a lovely herb to recognize and honor that this was something that saved, perhaps your family's ancestors, and was brought to the table, and to help preserve food and to use as food and as a medicine. So these are the teachings that came from the native people. So this is a true native teaching.
That's why I said, I know you have some connection with the sage. I knew that one was coming.
Yeah.
Thyme, this is something that I have growing here. I have a vertical GreenStalk planter, and in my GreenStalk planter I have some thyme growing, and it's just hanging over the side and stuff, and it has a lovely smell. Thyme is something that I didn't grow up using. My mom didn't use thyme or anything, and I didn't use it growing when my kids were growing up, but I've learned to love thyme also because I love the smell of thyme. So tell us a little bit about why people should have thyme on their homestead.
Yep. So you remember I was talking about lavender, that it's like an addition, you add it to other herbs for reals and not much. So thyme would be the same. And lavender and thyme together are like amazing. So you have the anti-inflammatory response of, the lavender, and then you take the thyme. This is just amazing information on thyme, helps with viral flus and infections. So you're calming the body with the lavender, you're drinking the thyme, they both taste lovely together. You got the sniffles, you're not feeling good, something's up, it's right in your garden, clip it, start sipping on it. So it has an antiviral properties to it. Thyme does. And they're just lovely together to have. And we know as culinary, you know what? My parents never used thyme. My grandparents never used thyme. My first gardens, I put thyme in because I wanted to know more about how to use thyme. And then I found it mixing it with the lavender during, I'd come down with a sore throat, sniffles, wasn't feeling good, needed to calm myself down. It was wonderful. I felt so much better doing the thyme with it. There's something else about thyme, and I'm just looking down my notes because I just jotted little words because I don't want to forget really important things. So you've got, young children who are becoming juvenile, or young adults, preteens, and they start popping out with acne. Here's another simple trick. Again, that witch hazel, guys, it's amazing. Whether you harvest your own witch hazel and make your own witch hazel, which I could share that at another time, how to do that, your witch hazel bark and from the twigs and the flowers, it's astringent. And so when you take your time and you soak it into witch hazel, and so you're basically you're macerating the thyme, you kind of smash it up and you can use it fresh. This is witch hazel is so astringent, it's not going to turn moldy. And that's really learning how to make things.
Yeah.
That's a class I should teach.
Exactly.
So just get witch hazel and put thyme into it, and get a spray bottle and have your young teenagers who are having acne spray it on their face, their backs, wherever they have acne. It works so good on acne. You could do it with the essential oil too, but you can't apply it neat. In other words, it has to be applied usually with a carrier oil. And you wouldn't want to put that carrier oil onto acne
Yeah.
because you don't want to clog it. So you could put that in a witch hazel as well too and spritz it. Just shake the bottle because they'll split. So the essential oil will sit on top and the witch hazel on the bottom. So you'll just have to shake the bottle. So it's really, really amazing for skin boils and acne. And you can use it in your hair too. So that would be really great as a stringent being as for someone with really oily hair. That would be another one you could put in apple cider vinegar for a hair rinse. So, yep, that's time for you.
Yeah, we have lots of time. That's
Yep.
amazing. The last one we're going to talk about tonight is parsley. Now, I grew parsley last year in my high tunnel, and it just went wild. It loved the environment of the high tunnel and stuff, and it grew like crazy. And all of a sudden, I had worms all over it. So I killed all the worms. And oh my goodness, I had people just come down on me so bad. They said, no, that's a butterfly. And I said, but I didn't think about it. I just saw worms eating all my parsley. And so parsley does attract the butterflies, and they lay their eggs and they have the worms, and it will destroy your parsley, but it'll come back out. But at the time, I didn't know that. And I just thought, oh, I've got a worm infestation and I got to get rid of it. So tell us a little about parsley.
Yeah, so that's a good story of you sharing about parsley. It's full of vitamin K. And, I think a lot of fertilizers that we get, there is a K value. I would have to research that a little bit more, but I'm hearing with you having the caterpillars that the vitamin K is their attractor. So that kind of tells you right there for yourself, the high vitamin K, which is really important for a human being, which we don't get educated on vitamins anymore. And
No.
so parsley, number one, and I'll get into the vitamin part of it in a minute. Parsley, number one, years ago, there was always these lovely embellishments. I was a chef. That was one of my jobs. And I learned how to make, radishes into roses and carrot crinkles. And there was always parsley on the plate. And it was used as a palate cleanser. So when you ate a rich meal like pork chops or, you would want to cleanse your palate for your next part of your meal. But what it was really doing besides cleansing is giving you fresh breath.
Mm-hmm.
So parsley is fantastic for mouth health. Okay.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter if it's flat or curled. Most people, some people don't like the flavor of it. Kind of the same as cilantro. They think it tastes kind of soapy like. But I'm going to tell you something really important about parsley. So it's a diuretic. And which also is why it's put on years ago, because you don't find parsley on plates. Was because of all the salt used in foods, was to flush your body of the salty meal you just had. So you didn't retain all that salt and get edema, and so forth. So when I, use culinary herbs as medicinal purposes, I find that people who carry a lot of water weight by eating a sprig or two of parsley per day. And this only lasts for about 3 weeks, and then you have to take a break as your body gets used to knowing you're eating parsley every day. But it flushes out the extra water retention that your body has while giving you the vitamin K that you need when you're flushing out excess fluid from your body. So who knew this about parsley, right? I learned this as being a cook. I wanted to know why that parsley was on my plate, why I was putting it on all these plates to serve to people besides it looking fresh.
It was pretty. It was pretty.
Yes. Yes. So parsley is, and also what I found out, and I've never worked with anyone with this, but for poor eyesight. So I think it might be more of, when you carry fluid or pressure behind the eyes, that causes some of your eye issues, that
Mhm.
might help with that. But I can't say that I know that for a fact. But that is the research of parsley, as more the scientific evidence of how parsley works with your body. So when I work with someone with high blood pressure, I want the root of parsley to be part of that herbal tea, and I want them to be eating parsley.
I wanted to ask about, you said you work with people, so you have a
Yes.
business, and we want to mention Sacred Garden. And tell us a little bit more about
Cindi
Sacred
Sacred
Garden and what
Garden.
you're talking about.
Yeah, so I have an online store. It's called Cindi Sacred Garden. I've been in business with this business name since 2006. And we make, from start to finish, all organic skin, I call it skin food, because your skin is the biggest organ of your body. And whatever you're putting on your skin is literally going into your body. And fresh earth medicines, which would be your herbal salves, your teas, your tinctures, to take care of your health, your good health. And I also work with people one-on-one, and that is customizing their herbal plan for whatever is going on with their needs. And so it's easy. You can just find me online. It doesn't matter how you spell it, guys, you'll find me, because I'm going to come up right away, because I've been online for a long time. It's Cindi Sacred Garden. And I have a Facebook page where you can reach me there. You can contact me through the website. And I wanted to mention this because Wanda's so cool. I sent her like a package, and then she ordered. And so if you are interested and you see my website, and I just wanted to say this, if you sign up for the newsletter that we offer, which is always gives more information, herbal information, and then like our specials and sales, your first order will ship for free. So you don't have to pay for shipping. So I just wanted to mention that, because I wanted to give some kind of little special, if your viewers who are your friends and family, I can tell by watching your channel that they are dear to you, something special for them. So I practice what I preach every day.
Well, that's what I liked, because I have quite a few essential oils, and I was doing doTERRA for years, and I got out of that, but I have my doTERRA essential oils, and I keep those, and when I drag out what I need, but I'm always looking for really good herbal products and things that skincare and different things. One of the things I was telling you earlier, you knew I ordered the mullein oil for the ear, and it's helped my ears tremendously.
Yep,
So I'm
mullein ear oil.
more than happy with the mullein oil. And then I've got some of your calamine.
Yeah.
You make calamine.
So I do have, nostalgically, I make calamine paste. So it's not the watery old calamine.
Mhm.
It stays on your skin, so it's good for bug bites, acne. I'm allergic to dust mites. I use it on my skin, and it just stops the itching. I mean, it's nostalgic to me. Calamine was the first thing, or mercurochrome, that was put onto me, before anything else, when I had a cut or a wound, before the herbs came out. So, but I wanted to mention also, because I didn't plug this about myself, and I think it's really important. Guys, I harvest a lot of what you see in the fresh earth or herbal salves, tinctures, teas. I grow it. I know nature. I teach. I'm a teacher for herbal schools out in person, hands on of what's growing. And so when you order something for me as a tea or a tincture or a salve or mullein ear oil, I am actually harvesting that myself. I'm not buying it from anyone else. And what I can't grow, which is very few, because I grow a lot of different medicinal plants, I do trade with those that I trust who are ethically harvesting or that I have taught to ethically harvest. So I really wanted to make sure that that was mentioned because I know it's important that you know if you're purchasing from someone else what you're getting.
Exactly, because so many of our viewers, they want to know that what they're getting is not purchased, like you said, harvested unethically. There's lots of that out there. There's a lot of people buying their herbs and making their tinctures and stuff and then selling them on their stores, their Etsy stores and things like that. They're not actually harvesting their own stuff. They're buying it in bulk and creating their salves and stuff from something they bought from somebody they have no clue who it is. And so I wanted our subscribers to have access to someone like you, where they can email you and say, hey, look, I've got this problem. What should I order from you? I've got that problem. What can I get that would help with it? And I want them to have a one-on-one. And it's very important in this day and time when you can't get into see a doctor, and half the time they don't tell you what to do. They say, let's try this. Let's try that. And I took herbal classes like 30 years ago, and I wanted to become a natural health consultant. And I had my own bulk herbs and stuff, but I was buying them from a company called Herbal Healer, and they are out of Arkansas, I believe. And so I don't know, they were really good herbs. They worked, they did what they wanted, but I bought them in bulk. And dried herbs will lose their potency over time. You can't buy a pound of dried herbs and not use it in a year, year and a half, and it still have the benefits it had when you first got it. And so that is something that people need to know too, that herbs don't last a long time. Their potency goes down the older they get. And so you want to have them fresh as much as possible and dry every year, so you're replenishing what you have. And I like that you have your own, or most of the people that grow. And I think my subscribers will like that also.
Yes. And I'm really particular, like we don't use very many powdered herbs, and you don't know how long a powdered herb has been sitting in a warehouse. Number one, most of them only have a shelf year of 1 year. That's it. And if they don't share their sheets stating when that was powdered, you don't know, what you're really getting. And I get that you went that route, and I respect that. You were doing everything you could, but I'm going to advocate that you get fresh, that if you're buying from a bulk herbal store, when you walk in, you can ask, do you know how old these herbs are?
Yeah.
And get that answer, because that is educating as well too, saying I'm an educated person and I need to know. When you buy your herbal teas in a store and they come in a little pouch for easy dipping into a cup and pouring hot water, it's all powder. There you go again. You don't know what you're getting, much less the potency, if there's anything left. So like, I only offer whole herbal loose teas. And that means you see the whole dried chamomile flower. That means you're seeing the whole little lavender bud. That means you're seeing the root, the berries, the bark, whatever's in there, you see it, you can pull it out and actually look at it. And that, the best part of that is when you have something fresh like that, that is not outdated, is that you think you need like a whole tablespoon of tea to make 1 cup. You can get 3 cups out of a tablespoon. And then the best part is you offer it as compost because it still has nutrients left for your plants. And you're giving it back to Mother Earth where you came from. So it's an actual gift back for you to take care of yourself and gift where it came from. So there's a whole beautiful circle with that. Thanks for letting me share on that, Wanda.
Because I see it as the herbs. When I go out and harvest something outside and I come in and I make my tea, it's so much more potent and it's so much, it's better. And I do have some lavender flowers that a friend sent me from Texas. And I just love it because she knew where they came from. And she sent me some bulk lavender flowers. Oh my goodness, just the smell. And you can, I mean, things like that are just special to me. I like that, but I don't have time to tell all the people that email me, hey, what do I need for this? Or how can I use that? That's one reason I got out of doTERRA, was because I didn't have time to spend one-on-one with everybody and help them know what oils to buy and what not to buy and all that stuff. It was a business in itself and I didn't have time for that. But I like that you can do that. That is your business. That's why we're talking to Cindi today, is because I wanted everybody to know that there are people like Cindi out there that harvest their own stuff, create their own salves and their own tinctures and teas and all this stuff. I encourage everybody to go check out Cindi's Sacred Garden. And I'm gonna put links in my descriptions and stuff where you can find Cindi, and she's going to be in a podcast with Danny. So that's going to be pretty special. You know, them two's going to really go at it. Do you have any books that you would recommend that people could have? Because I know different places, like the South is different from the East and the East is different from the West. And so what kind of books would you suggest that people be looking for? Because people are always looking for books.
So I want to call the best one that, and I'll explain the book that I want to just share. And mine's beat up because I carry this everywhere with me. It is a Peterson Field Guides, and it's by Stephen Foster, who just passed away recently, and James Duke, very well known. And so in this book here, you can purchase the area that you're in. And mine says Eastern and Central. And then there's like South and there's West and there's Northern areas. And so it's divided up by what's growing by the flora and fauna of whether you're mountainous or you're flat prairie land, just to kind of give you an idea. But the best thing about this book is when you start, so this is how you go out and start identifying. Doesn't mean that you're going to get the right one, but this book is very specific. It starts out with the colors. So here's a really good thought. So the first color is white. White represents early spring. You're coming out of winter. Then yellow. These are actually how you'll see flowers appear. Yellow, and then purple, and then red. And then it goes into your trees, a few of the mushrooms. So you can identify, and it's hard to show this on here, by, is it petals? How many petals are on it? Stamens, leaves. I mean, they get very, very specific, and it has beautiful pictures. So it can help you. It talks about each plant and how many, and what I like about it is they really talk about how natives use these plants, which tribe, because that's what these are, native plants to the United States. And this book here in the back is not only the common name, but the Latin name. And then let me open up a page, because I recommend this when I teach to all my students. It's called a life list. Okay, you're not going to see this, but in the life list is you go out, and I found turtle head. So it's a native plant in this area. It's called turtle head. I wrote down where I found it in Curtis Creek, campsite number 8, and the date. I also made little notes so I can come back and go, oh, that in August I found. Look at this page, guys. Look, can you see that, Wanda? But you fill it, and so this is your reference guide.
Wow.
And it tells you what page it's on. So you can go back to the page and go, okay, for reference, this is my teacher. My teacher was this book. I highly recommend it. Take it as number 1. Learn about your homesteads. You'll find what you want on your homesteads in here. And then something for families. So this is more recent. I went through all my books, and I really wanted to pick out different meanings. So my friend Mia Toll has this beautiful book on herbs, and in it she has these beautiful pictures. This is a family book. This is to share with your children. Look at the artistry on that. And she talks about sweet violets, and each page is just gentle herbs. It's nothing that's she doesn't teach anything that would be contrary. And if it is, she'll make sure you know. But the best part is in the back of the book, there's little cards that you pull out, and your family and you, or your children, or your teens can pull those out and have them as a way of incorporating these plants into their daily life and the spiritual meaning. And it's just not something growing there. It has a life of its own, and it's offering you something really important to you and your family. So this is Mia Toll, and she has other books too, but it's the herbary. My grandchildren delight this book and the cards. And so I had to put the cards back really carefully so they wouldn't fall out. And then a good friend of mine. So as you can imagine, my friends are herbalists and they're botanists. And Abby Armatija, and she has this herbal handbook for homesteaders. Guys, wow. This is how to learn. I need to write a book. This is how to learn how to take medicine and use herbal medicines with apple cider vinegar, or to make an elixir with honey. She has a wealth of recipes in here. She tells a story as a botanist and then goes into the properties. So she is intelligent, and how to make a simple tincture, or how to make mullein ear oil. Look at Wanda, right? One of your favorites.
Or order it from Cindi.
So this, right. So I think Abby's, you can get it on Amazon. Abby Armatija. Armatija is a plant, by the way, guys. You would also know it as mugwort. So she adopted the name of the mugwort as part of her name. And it's an herbal handbook for homesteaders. So I highly recommend these 3 as different ways of, on hands identification, more for the family and learning the lovely meanings of the plants and how to incorporate them, to how to take it to your kitchen and actually make your own medicines, herbal remedies. So those are the 3 that I brought out because it made sense.
So is there anything else that you want to add today to tell our subscribers before we get off?
Just thank you for watching this and learning anything that I shared. If you captured some of that information and you go and you try it, I am just feeling honored and blessed that you might find some of this information or all of it very useful for you and your family. And I also, if they're, like Wanda had said, if there's some culinary or native plants you would like more information on, let Wanda know, because I would love to come back and share my wealth of information with you.
Well, Cindy, we want to thank you today because to me, this is special because I love herbs and I love growing plants and I'm just crazy about plants. But I wanted everybody to have access to a good herbalist. And y'all go check out Cindy's Sacred Garden. We're going to be enjoying her stuff because I order from her off and on, and I'm wanting to try the teas. That's something I hadn't ordered yet. So I'm going to be getting some of the teas shortly. And y'all, she has a variety. The website's amazing. You could just play on the website all day long. So go check it out. I promise you, you'll be there for a while and your cart will fill up pretty fast. And like she said, sign up for the newsletter, you get free shipping. And y'all in the comments, tell me, do you want Cindy to come back? What you want her to talk about? And we'll try to get another meeting set up in a few weeks and we'll have it where we can talk about what y'all want us to talk about also. So Cindy, thank you for coming today. We appreciate it and you spending your time with us tonight. And y'all, thank you for being here at Crazy Days. Talk to y'all later.